Hey everyone, it's your host Cindy, otherwise known as Leander Mama, back again for another installment of On a Water Breaks from the Stands. And as always, we have a great panel lined up for you to talk about another incredible weekend of WGI Color Guard. Welcome back to another recap episode of On a Water Break from the Stands. Evidently, you guys are really enjoying these recap episodes, and we love bringing them to you. I mean, who doesn't love talking about Winter Guard? So let's get started. First of all, let's meet the members of today's panel. We have one of our regular On a Water Break hosts joining us, straight from Canada, Miss Cynthia Bernard. Hey, Cynthia.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
We're also excited to have Jonathan Lischack joining us again. Welcome back, Jonathan.
Hey, everybody.
We have another returning guest host today who is a person much like myself, a rabid superfan, Ms. Alicia Sharp. Welcome back to the podcast, Alicia.
Hey, happy to be back.
We're also happy to have one of our brand new On a Water Break hosts joining us, Mr. Ricardo Robinson-Shinall. Welcome to the recap, Ricardo.
Bonjour. I'm back.
Lastly, we are extremely excited to have an independent World Guard performer with us today, Ms. Leah Anderson from the University of South Florida Winter Guard. Hey, Leah. Leah, we would love to have you give us your life story in 32 counts, if you're okay with that.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Okay, so I was born in Florida, born and raised. I was taught by the Ricardo Robinson-Shinall. Loved being on dance line, got promoted to flag line, and decided that I wanted to keep spinning afterwards. And yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here. I didn't realize how to get out, so I'm stuck for now.
That's awesome. Well, okay, now that you all have met our amazing host and are settled into the stands, let's talk about some of the incredible guards from this past weekend. Just like last time, we each have some of our own favorites to talk about, and we will let Leah chime in whenever she wants. So let's get started. Jonathan, let's start with you. Tell us what regional you were watching this weekend and something about one of your favorite groups there.
Sure. I had the chance to check out the Pittsburgh Regional last weekend here and really enjoyed the A class out there. There's a lot of really strong groups, and it was really cool to see one of our teams here, Kettering Fairmont, take first in Scholastic A. And we really just demonstrate a tremendous level of that A class training and that professionalism on the floor that, that class looks for in the performers, while still mixing it up with some really sophisticated and smart design and color choices and like the whole package out there.
Yeah, I know I said it last time, but those Scholastic A groups just get better and better every year.
They really do.
I have to remind myself, that's Scholastic A? Are we sure we're not watching Open?
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Cynthia?
I have so many, but I watched we had a show here on Saturday, so I couldn't watch anything. But on Sunday, I jumped back and forth between the Austin and was it Manhattan? Is that right? Yeah. And there's a couple groups. There's one that really I was happy to see, which is Chino Hills. But the A class, the Scholastic A, because everyone knows Chino Hills the world, right? But Scholastic A Chino Hills was very, very impressive. And on the last episode of On Water Break, Nicole and I and the panel kind of talked a little bit about Regional A, just a snippet. And I think that Chino Hills Scholastic A, if you have a chance to go see, is kind of step by step on how to write a good design, like really obtainable good design for any designer that starts or wants to know what you need to do now, but to be successful and not to try to do too much. They're pushing. Yeah. They're really good, but it was a very just well done. Yeah, great Scholastic A design, and the members, of course, they're trained like the world class, of course.
Oh,
So yeah, but yeah, it was really cool to see.
that's awesome. Well, how about you, Ricardo? What you got?
Well, I had the pleasure of being at the Orlando Regional this weekend with my students, but I did get to sit back and watch most of the open class and the world class, and then I got to watch some of the top A guards. And I'm telling you, the talent level that these students are being asked to do in the A class now, I was like to say, back in my day, back when I marched, back in the 1900s, the stuff that A-class students are doing now is stuff that open class and world guards weren't even attempting back in the day.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's just insane. I had two favorite scholastic A guards that I saw this weekend, and one was Timber Creek High School from Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
They did a scarecrow show, and they used this music. If I Only Had a Brain, just magnificent design from Randy Nelson, with the floor looking like the yellow brick road going through a cornfield. The costuming was just stunning. It looked great on all the kids. And just the twirls, honey. The twirls were ridiculous. And my second favorite A-class color guard of the day was Bartram Trail High School from up in the Jacksonville Regional. They are Jacksonville region.
Okay.
Yeah, they are beautiful. They're doing this song "Fought and Lost" that I also happen to be doing with my JV team. Completely different take on it than what I was doing with it. But those kids have hands, and they are just fantastic performers. And we are floor buddies, so we kind of get to hang out with them a little bit, you know. And they're just amazingly sweet kids. So yeah, it was a great regional. I'll talk about world class later, but my A class favorites, that was them.
That's so interesting that you mentioned the Timber Creek show, because Hebron is doing the exact same show. I don't know, of course, if the choreo's the same, but the same song, same theme, sounds like the same floor even. And,
wow.
I mean, Hebron's doing an incredible job with it. And you guys need to watch it. But I'm just so curious. I'll have to look for Timber Creek, because I'll have to see. That's interesting. Do you think it's possible that groups would perform the same shows, or is that not something?
I mean, it's not something that's supposed to be done or should be done, but I mean, it's possible. I do know that this Timber show was their COVID year show, and they decided to bring it back. So you never know. Maybe somebody stole it. I don't know. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. So do not come for me in the comments, everyone.
Oh, well, Alicia, who did you watch this weekend, and what was one of your favorites?
I was teaching a camp this weekend, getting another group ready for a regional this coming weekend.
Okay.
But the weekend before that, I was really dug in on the Chicago regional.
Okay.
And I feel I'm really, really loving open class this year.
Yes.
I think we're witnessing a huge shift in open class right now.
Agreed.
As far as what the shows look like and the type of shows that those guards are doing. So I want to talk about that eventually, but I want to give a shout out to a group that competed at the Chicago regional. They are Muhammad Seymour High School, and they're a very young program. None of them had ever been to WGI before. Their director had never been to WGI before.
Wow.
And they compete in the Illinois Drill Team Association, and the Chicago regional was like the very last competitive thing for them this year. So they ended their season there. Walked into the regional and SRA class super nervous and just killed it. I mean, they were champions of the regional, and that really stuck out to me. I love seeing young performers come in and have a great first time. And you know, they're my really big kind of shout out that I wanted to bring to the table. And then in A class, I'm really watching Mount Juliet this year. They're local to me. They're, right down the road, and they're like the 4th seed in A class right now, and this will be their 3rd year if they make finals, so we know what happens.
My God.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that program and those performers, so I'm keeping my eye on them too.
Well, we have to give a shout out to Woody, who just showed up. I don't know if there's anywhere left for you to sit, Woody. Oh. Well, we're talking, of course, our favorite picks from the last weekend or two in Winter Guard. And Leah, we got to give you an opportunity. I don't know if you've seen other guards, but you're welcome to give us your pick, or you can tell me what's your favorite part of you guys' show.
It's a little difficult because I tend to rush to competitions to see my own kids. This is the first time that I've seen my kids perform because usually we have a ton of practice in the mornings and we're driving over. So I was really proud of them this year because our show is not easy. I don't know why we keep doing this to our kids, but this is a difficult show. They love it though. They eat it up. But my show...
Who are your kids?
Yeah, who are your kids?
It's the same one as Ricardo's. It's Braden River from Bradenton, Florida. Love them.
Okay.
Yeah, shout out.
So I guess a little bit of what I see normally is, even though I'm like rushing around the place trying to make sure that I'm okay and that my face looks okay and I pass inspection, I see other like A-class, open class kids next to me. And I don't know, I've noticed that they look at me with like, oh, she's walking, she needs to get somewhere very fast, and they try to run out of my way. But I'm like, no, baby, you were here first. Like, take your time. I'm going to wait in line. I'm not special. Like, you should have this. I try to make sure that they feel really calm and comfortable wherever they are because that's how I would want to feel when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot of that at the beginning of competitions, making sure that I'm smiling at everyone, making sure that everyone gets some kind of compliment from me, just because I know that as soon as I see the shoulders like drop and they're a little bit more relaxed, I'm like, okay,
yeah,
I did something nice for someone, which then in turn makes me feel a little bit more comfortable because I've already spoken to a lot more people at the show. So I don't think, oh, I'm performing to a bunch of people that I have no idea. It's more of like, oh, I've spoken to a few of you guys. Like, I'm not as nervous. So that's kind of like my...
Okay.
Leah, I love to hear that from a world-class performer. Like, I love that you understand and value the role you play in being a role model for like the younger performers. It's really awesome to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I have to give a shout out to my favorite Scholastic A-Guard in Austin this weekend. And I don't know if y'all saw Pearland, but their show is called Blue Moon. And I like what they did was they took their props from the marching show last fall, which they were hugely successful with in San Antonio, and they cut them in half. And so we've got these sort of crescent moons, and they made them to where like they could swing back and forth, and they were using them like to not, I hate to say launch, but launch guard members off, while they're doing their solos. It was so cool how they used effectively these props to highlight their soloists. And a lot of times you miss what the soloists are doing because you don't really know where to look. And kudos to the designer of that show, because I really don't feel like I missed any of the solos because it was just so well written. And I love that they reused those props because all the dads had to do was, in this case, was cut them in half. And in fact, they probably were already in two pieces, honestly. Yeah. And so, way to save some money there, Pearland.
Reuse, and recycle.
Yes. See, that was one of the things that after this weekend, I was like, I think that's the theme this year, reuse. Like, even the music that you hear, like way back 90s music throughout all categories and props. And yep.
Well, speaking of the music, they used the song Blue Moon, but it's by a group called Pink Martini. And it was such a beautiful version. Y'all need to look that up. That was really a cool, beautiful music and a beautiful show. Well, Woody, did you happen to see any guards that you wanted to talk about from the last weekend?
I was at a drumline show this weekend, and the high school that sponsored it, the color guard did an exhibition. It was Unionville. And they did Jack and the Beanstalk. And I have to tell you, it was very entertaining, very well done. The kids were fabulous, and they spent well. They danced very well. The show, sometimes in the local area, you see collapses in design and things like that. Man, they were on point. They're a main guard, so which probably explains a lot because to keep up with those other guards, you have to have a little something. But it's been so long since I've seen a local guard. I was truly impressed. You know, obviously, it being a drum show, a lot of people didn't really pay attention. But I was.
Well, I hear those kids are taught by the AMP. Some of the AMP Winter Guard kids. So, I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, they took third at the Philadelphia Regional a couple of weeks ago.
Unionville?
Yes, they did.
Okay, yeah. I can see that because, I mean, they were on the money. They had a couple of things that, you know, like from a design standpoint that I probably would just take just seemed a little bit repetitive with some of the kinds of tosses that they did. I got it, but, you know, that's one of those things as you develop as a designer, you say, you know what, we've done this 3 times. Maybe we should probably try to get that same effect a different way. They're at that point now. Which is
Come on, DA Judge Woody.
Huh?
Come on, DA Judge Woody.
Oh, you know what, man? That's my goal in life. I'm a general effect judge. And if you're a general effect judge, you got to be able to do music and visual.
All right, well, let's move on to some of our second picks from the weekend. How about you, Ricardo? Give us another one.
Okay, so I'm just going to go up class by class. How about that?
Tana's doing that too. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about open class now. And the open class is such a weird world to be in because they're that in-between world, but I feel like open class gets to be so cool and creative. And my favorite open class guard at the Orlando Regional, favorite scholastic open class color guard was definitely Boone High School.
Oh, so good.
Jonathan is doing some Joshua is doing some amazing stuff with those kids. They're very like in the style of Onyx is kind of what they do with their shows. But this year it's bright and colorful. It's all about rhythms. They even have at one point the Dr. Beat counting off stuff using the Dr. Beat voice. I mean, it's so well put together. The kids are having fun. It is a hoot and a half in the gym. Oviedo High School also is doing a fantastic job. Their show has a wonderful message about, you know, coloring the world and making your voice and your part, like making the world a colorful place. They just move so well. Their movement skills, obviously they're taught by Michael James. So, you know, when you are taught by a mover of that level on a daily basis, you know, you're going to be fantastic. So those are my open color guards. Pegasus Open, also fantastic. They're doing a place for us where they mix together Imagine and Somewhere from West Side Story. And it's just beautiful. I love shows where we're talking about uplifting people and people being happy in the world together because that is all my brand.
That's what I love about Winter Guard anyway. Yeah, there's some dark shows out there and there's a place for that, but you just can't watch Winter Guard and not just feel happy. I mean, I don't
know how you are in a gym listening to dark music for 6 months. It's just, no.
Yeah. Let's be happy.
Let's be happy.
Oh, well, how about you, Alicia? Give us your second rundown.
Oh gosh, I'm glad I'm going after you, Ricardo, because I feel like I can just follow up everything you were saying with like, man, open class is I feel like we're on two very ends of a spectrum. We're either doing these like really beautiful like shows or these absolutely unhinged, off the wall, like crazy shows that are like, yeah. And I love it. I'm here for it. I love the cheesy shows. I love the over the top. Jonathan, I'm so glad you're here on this one because like, oh my God, last year's show with Hamilton was, loved it, lived for it, and drove out of my way to make sure I saw your semifinals run in WGI because I wanted, to witness that. But so I'm a big fan of those shows. So I have to shout out Allegiance, which is they're doing a Looney Tunes like Roadrunner show. And if you've not seen the pictures of the costumes these kids are wearing, like I want a tail on my costume. They're so good. I haven't seen it yet, but if I see them in Dayton, I'm going to ask for a tail. So look up the pictures, like go on Facebook, that Color Guard Corner group. They have pictures. I can't wait to see them in Dayton. And then MBI.
Oh, yes.
They're doing, have you seen the clips of them on TikTok? They're doing like their crash test dummies. I don't know what the music is.
I am all about that show.
Oh my gosh. I love the themes. I love seeing Color Guard get fun and silly, because I feel like for a solid decade, we were so serious and so, dare I say it, pretentious. And I was like, Color Guard off the wall is my favorite kind of Color Guard.
Yeah, they did the clown show last year.
That, so more people keep doing it.
Yeah, well, and I mean, who wants to sit in the arena for 12 hours on Friday and watch sad after sad after sad? And then I almost brought it up earlier, Cindy, when you asked about doing like the same shows. I don't know if y'all were around finals in 2008 when there were like 4 world-class guards back to back to back to back that did the same song, that hide and seek.
Oh, 07.
Oh,
07.
Cynthia remembers.
I'm triggered every
I was performing
time
one of them.
Were you?
That song. Oh, sorry, no offense, Cynthia.
No, I didn't choose it.
It was the song of the year.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah,
so you think Condense was very popular back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, last year was golden hour. I love seeing groups like really just go outside of the box with their shows. So I'm really Allegiance and MBI, looking forward to seeing them live when I can.
I'm just going to say I'm glad Beyonce's Texas song didn't come out a few months ago, because I think we'd be I'm so tired of seeing that one.
They'll be adding it to the chant. The Texas chant is getting longer every single year.
This ain't Texas.
Yeah, it'll be, wait for it. We'll hear it over and over
I hear
and
it in
over
my
again.
sleep.
I have seen less Taylor Swift than I expected to, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
I've seen a few Exile. That song's real popular for the shows this year, but dude, she's a global superstar right now. If I had kids that were into it, shoot. Sure, we'll do it. Pick a song.
Absolutely.
I have seen some Barbie. And actually, I was judging out in North Carolina this past weekend, and Cleveland's middle school did a Barbie show, and it was like you were sitting in the movie during their first minute. Like, they had voiceovers played up right, the music, the kids coming down the slides and on the props, like they nailed it.
Wow.
Oh, that's exciting.
Well, Jonathan, while you're at it, give us your next pick.
I think, let's think. Oh, Chicago Regional, going back to like the open class teams. Just making that jump. Both Noblesville and Mason High School came out first and second in that class. And even Northmont in third, just moving up there very recently. Like, to see all these brand new teams in that paradigm, like stepping right up and doing the thing is really cool to see. That process of trying to move the A class forward into the open classes is starting to catch.
Well, my pick was, since we're talking about open class guards, and I had not had the chance to see Westlake, and I love Westlake. They've gone to Dayton a few times. I've always loved them, but I wasn't sure how they were going to do with an open show. And their show, they come out behind these props. So it starts out with nothing but props. That's all you can see. And then they come running out with these hot, I don't know if it's pink or red, super bright, but these jumpsuits, and that show was so high energy, and I don't know, I just love a jumpsuit. I don't know what it is, and I'm not talking about a unitard. I'm talking about with the flowy pants, and and they just hit the ground running, and we're just doing all the things, and that show would just it wowed me, everybody. You could just tell that we were just mesmerized by how amazing they were. And like I said, I hadn't seen them before this season, and I always loved their shows, but they kind of blew me away this year, and I'm excited to see how they do with that. Let's see, did I miss somebody? Cynthia?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at any Scholastic A because I was jumping, because I'm teaching independent A, independent open, so I was trying to see not the competitors. And you know what's interesting also is when you sit in the stands the entire day, you can look at an organization as a whole also, and I think that's very interesting. But anyways, a friend of mine, so it's going to look like I'm biased, but I am a little bit. I'm not going to say the opposite, but Origins with Open, with their show Evolve. Yes. I think And I don't think I've ever said that. Like, I don't think we invent nothing. I think even the shows that we're laughing right now and the shows that we're crying, like, it's been done. We're just doing it a little bit to our new era type of way. They're doing a show about the evolution of the marching arts.
Yeah.
And I think it's the first time I'm seeing pushed that far. That, like, it's not it's they're starting in a block, marching times, like, and I know that they went through like march technique, like walk through the 4/8 and all that, and I was talking to the drill writer. I don't want to name anyone because Chris McCarthy is one of my friends, but I know directors are very important there, but I don't know their names. But Chris was talking on how hard the beginning drill was to write, which is like the drill of the back 80s, 70s, like the lines turning and all that.
And while they're wearing shakos with plumes too.
They're wearing shakos with plumes. They're taking off the plumes. They're moving on, and they have little things that they want to add on still.
Okay.
And they really jumped really high in the scores right now. So it kind of all changed the same thing for them. So yeah, if you have a chance to look at, like I'm saying, all the organizations as a whole. So they have an A-Guard, open class, and a world. It's interesting. But the open class this year, I think, is a show that you can connect, whether you've been doing this forever, that you stopped watching, or that you're current. Like, it's going to touch anyone that's been in the marching arts, I think.
Yeah, I thought all the origin shows were great, but I have to say that open one, the whole crowd was just going crazy. It was, and when they did that thing where they lined up in the center, and I don't know if it was feathers or plumes or what they threw up in the air, and while the flags were, that was such a cool effect. And the crowd was just screaming. It was great.
What's the name of that guard again?
Origins Open.
Origin Open. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
intrigued.
Me too.
Well, okay, y'all, it's time for a quick commercial break. So go grab a snack, but don't lose your seat because we've got more Winter Guard recaps to cover and you won't want to miss it.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy, the producer from On a Water Break, the main show. And while you're enjoying this great bonus content from some amazing hosts, there's a whole other show happening with guests, news, and plenty of other fun things that you and your friends are talking about on a water break. So take a moment, go subscribe so that you can get your notifications every week for the main episode of On a Water Break. If you have news or know of somebody that would be a great guest, or maybe you would be a great guest, email us at onawaterbreakpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media at onawaterbreak. And now back to this fantastic bonus content.
And we'll see you at the show.
And we're back. Now that we've settled back into our seats in the stands with our favorite snack and sodas, let's talk more about some of our favorite guards. Ricardo, give us another one or two of your favorite shows from the weekend.
You know, it's hard to just pick one, so I just go with the plethora of people. So now I'm moving on into the world class, and I'm going to start this conversation off by saying Tarpon freaking Springs World
baby.
Color Guard. Oh my God. There are not enough words in the English language to describe the amazing things that these kids are doing. And it's great being in a circuit with them and seeing them, you know, up close and personal, you know, as they progress through the season and how the show develops. I mean, this idea, if anyone saw them last year and saw how amazing they were, this year is not a disappointment. It is even better than it was last year. We have live horns on the floor with them. The show is about the news not being old, and everything happens all over again. And they have this awesome kid that plays a newscaster, and there's a camera that's recording and showing parts of the show as it's happening live.
Wow.
I mean, it is just...
It's got everything.
It's got everything. And they're so good. Like, they're so good. I have no idea what Janine puts in the water up there or what she puts in their Wheaties, but I need some of it. It is just ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's the scholastic world side of things. So I got to give a shout out to 2 color guards in the independent world class from Orlando Regional. And I'm excited because I have babies in both of them. One of them happens to be on this podcast right now with us, but the first is University of South Florida. The opening movement soloist Tiana. It is just
amazing.
Amazing. I can't wait for people in Dayton to see this. When I tell you that this girl goes back to her roots, to her ancestors with this movement that Michael James wrote, I mean, it's a solid 45 seconds to a minute worth of her just on the floor. Leah, am I right? How long is she out there by herself?
I kid you not. She's there probably for like a minute and some change. When it's funny because learning about this solo, we all like sat down and Michael James is sitting in front of us and he's like, okay, so we're going to do something really different this year and we're going to have a minute-long soloist. And everyone looked between me and Tiana. And I said, this is not a me kind of choreography. I know what I was made for, and that was not it. And I am so, so glad that my twin got it because she's such a beautiful dancer. Like, I can brag about her all day, all night. Like, it's just so, like, she sets up the entire tone of our show just by dancing. There's nothing in her hands. There's no extra cool costume. It's just a bed and her. And it's so...
And a nightgown.
Beautiful.
And a nightgown. And I mean, it is Alvin Ailey inspired movement. Like, I just wanted to wade in the water. I wanted some revelation. I mean, it is absolutely stunning. And then the rest of the kids come out from behind the backdrops and they're all just matching that energy that she sets the show up with. It is fantastic. I love it. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there in the world. I think the judges are not giving high enough numbers on that show. So I'm coming for you, judges. Give them the points they deserve.
Now I have to see it.
You have to see the show. It's so good. You have to see it live because you need to feel that energy in person. It's not a show that you need to watch on a video. You got to be in the room where it happens.
Seems like I'm dropping the ball, huh?
Yeah. We need plane tickets to Florida.
Okay. My second independent world guard that I have got to give a big shout out to is Tampa Independent. Another just amazingly beautiful show with beautiful kids performing. Just, not a complicated idea. It's nothing that you need a dissertation to enjoy. You can literally just sit back, listen to an amazing soundtrack, and see kids do fantastic things very well to beautiful music. It's like color guard, like Lanyap. It's just like a little something extra for you, like to cleanse your palate with just beauty. I love it.
I agree. I love Tampa Independent. Like, my best friend's on the team, but it's something so nice to have for the past 3 years, we've had shows that are so completely different that watching it go against each other, it's honestly just like super nice and calming. Like, this year we have super like intricate, intrusive thoughts happening on the floor, coming back behind the drops. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to say too much, but coming back behind the backdrops and getting you in your like feels and a whole, if I could call it a production, because I feel like it's more of a production rather than a color guard show, because I feel like that's how we're kind of breaking the boundaries of what we're used to in world class versus Tampa Independent. That is so beautiful. They move so well. They toss so well. Everything is in their hands. Everything is so like, it kind of just puts you on your edge of the seat. Like 2 different ways of putting you on the edge of your seats. That is so, it's just calming, and I love it. I love how they create their show to like work well with like the people on their team, because I don't know, us USF and TI should be like, oh, we don't like you, this is better, blah blah blah, but we're all in the same area. We all go to the same clubs. We all go to the same like movie theaters. Like we see you 24/7. Why would I hate you? So truly, I love both of them, and he's so right. If you see them in person, it's a show.
They're definitely shows that you are going to lean into as you watch. Just lean forward into it.
I love hearing y'all describe these shows.
Mm-hmm.
And Leah, it makes me wonder what your favorite part of being in the Guard is. Is it the dance? Is it the equipment? What's your favorite part?
Oh, if you were to ask me that in high school, I would say it was dance.
Right?
Nothing, because I hated weapon, didn't want to get through weapon block. I hated flag. I just wanted to be on dance, and that was it. And then this past season, I had like a little, I think I want to be on flag line. I think I want to do everything I can. And I worked my butt off to get on flag line this year. And then I didn't make it. So and I'm laughing about it now because like I was really upset. But they're like, no, we just really need you as like this second soloist. Like we need you as like this dance part. And they're like, it's not because you can't spin. It's just because we need you to dance. But I think truly it's so satisfying being able to spin flag with someone else next to you. Like,
yeah.
And I guess spinning isn't really the right word. Dancing with it is more of a better word, in my opinion. So
it's like the flag feature. I mean, what is it about a good flag feature that gets the crowd? I mean, and it's probably not the simplest part of a show. I'm sure it's not, but they take something and that could be simple and just make it magnificent. I don't know what it is, but the flag features, they're always my favorite.
Yeah.
The bread and butter of your show. You always build to that moment to get to it because that's what the audience wants to see.
You gotta have it. And I noticed some groups will do their flag feature first, and I'm like, no, you can't do that first. It has to be the build-up. But
that was what I was gonna say. Like when I'm saying that the 90s are back, like now we see like when we march, and I don't know who we march, but when I march, where we had one flag feature after 45 seconds and a second flag feature after 2 minutes, and then the ending flag feature. And I think that's kind of back also. Like we see more than one flag feature per production now.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Bring it back. More flag features.
Love it.
I'm here for it.
Yep.
More flag features in 2024.
Long flag features, please.
Yes. Long phrases and yes.
Well, Cynthia, go ahead and give us your next one.
Who?
Cynthia, go ahead and give us your next one. Yeah.
All right. So like Ricardo said, just to name one is kind of impossible. It was on the past 2 weekends, but I kind of talked a bit about it on the last On a Water Break. And when I start about those shows, I don't stop. So you need to stop me. But the two productions right now, and I love to use my brain. I love to sit back and just watch and enjoy. But using my brain is like the thing that goes into, like I go so deep. But so Blessed Sacrament. I don't think they've been on Slow Marching yet. So I don't think there's a lot of people up in the South that saw them, but their show is, I'm going to repeat myself I'm sorry if you listen, watch, whatever, the other episode, but I was doing a judge trial tape and I ended up with tears in my eyes, which I'm not an emotional person whatsoever, especially in color guard. I've been doing this for too long. I'm the type of person that I'm a Beth Calhoun in the heart that sometimes I'll go to, no, I'm not that. I'm not going to stop and play on my phone. But sometimes I'm like, okay, this show is brilliant, amazing, incredible in so many ways. And that first, they start with a flag feature.
There you go.
That flag feature brings musicality to a new level that I've never seen. It's not just 2-3 phrases that the interrelationship makes sense. It's some of the phrases you can see the higher note. It's, you know what I'm trying to say. I don't know how I can say this, but it's not just the 2 or 3 melodies. Like you can see the notes going higher and lower and deeper, and like it's the musicality is.
I was going to say, I'm listening to everyone talk about the flag feature.
And the members are really good.
Coming from a percussionist, I started the indoor drum line because of color guard. And I think with the flag features, because you can see the music a lot clearer than with a weapon. A weapon is more intricate and you have to understand the dialogue. My mother can sit back and she can see the music in the flag. And I'm listening to you describe the Black Blessed Sacrament. And, you talk about the musicality and everything. You can't always see that in the weapons unless you're watching the body intertwine with the weapon. But when you watch a flag feature, even if there's no body underneath it, if you're just watching the block of flag, you can, if it's written well, you can see the music. And I think that's what people got away from. You miss that entertainment.
Yeah. And the show is called Feel the Bernstein. So it's about but it's all music from Bernstein repertoire. And when you know a little bit about this history of Bernstein, of where he started to write music, for what genre, for symphonies, and then for circus, and when you know all this, like, there's a lot of things that you can see in that show. And to chime on the flag thing and what Leah said, like, you dance with a flag, and that's kind of I don't want to say a new thing, but maybe like from the 90s, and now we see yet again people dancing with a flag, but remembering that you can be hard and linear, and I don't want to say hard, what's it, staccato more type of movement, because we've seen lyrical movement with flags for a while now that we're dancing with our equipment, but now we're kind of seeing both come back. Like, you can be hard and harsh and strong and more on rhythm with flag too. You don't have to always use the silk as your inspiration. I don't know if that kind of makes sense, and it's very visual. And the other shows, and people are going to be like, blah, 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 but people that know me, but Onyx.
Oh, yeah.
One day, if I could, when I grow up, I want to be the baby of, now that's going to sound so wrong, but Rick Subel and Michael Lentz, and I want to be that baby. I want to be that designer, and it's never going to happen. But yeah, his show is, they're bringing a chartreuse, the color, tarp this weekend. So I can't wait to see that, because chartreuse is a color. That's and class big floors, big floors. So it's a color. It's going to be out there. And compared to last year's program, where I knew everything and anything about Tarantula, the dance. I don't know about this show. I don't know about the story behind all that. And usually Michael Lentz at some point on his Facebook brings like a full big story of what it is. And I cannot wait for that post to come out. So if anyone knows Michael Lentz, I'm waiting for that post. Please write about that, because Onyx is really, really good. And they're doing that show with just one note. And now we're having Woody, you need to see that show. I think the note goes faster. It's just one note, and I think it goes faster. And then some people are saying it's not. So is it them creating visual effect that makes me think that the note is faster, or is it really the same note on tempo? I don't know. But yeah, it's really cool.
Wow. What a great description. Well, how about Miss Alicia? Give us some more of your picks.
Yeah, I have to say, Cynthia, my Facebook feed exploded after Onyx debuted their show, and I'm not typically I love them, appreciate what they do, but again, it's not my style. I've already kind of told my style. And this is the first year I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see this show. So I'm looking forward to it. But with my style, though, juxtaposition is really catching my eye this year in, world class. They are, I think last year was the first time in that program's history that they made finals. I could be wrong. And if I'm misspeaking.
In world class.
Yeah, as I say, if I'm wrong, I apologize. But I think that's the first time they've made finals since, being in world class. And I think they really found something that worked really well for them last year. And
their niche.
Yeah. So this year they're doing something called Off the Chain. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen clips. I saw an opening clip of their pre-show. They've got these large chain link props that I'm really curious to see how they use them. So, and they're seated super high in world class right now. I think they're seated in 4th place or maybe 3rd place. So it's an exciting time Yeah, it's an exciting time for that organization. And again, I have no ties to them. I'm just, I'm looking forward to it. And then I have to shout out the home team for me, Etude.
Oh yeah.
It's again just every single year it gets better and better. And Brian is doing some great things with the organization. It's their 20th anniversary, and the show is just stunningly beautiful. It's called Those Days Are Gone, and they've got these really interesting props. If you're into that, they're like rocking chair inspired, but they don't rock as much as they glide back and forth. So it's really interesting how they're using those with their bodies. And then just the overall, Fire and Valentine, does their artistic design. The costumes are so stunning. I mean, that I would wear the costume to prom.
The tail.
Yeah. I'll take a tail too. But yeah, I think world class this year is I think it's very interesting. We're seeing it is not the world class of 10 years ago, in the sense that like we've got new names and new groups and a disperse of talent in so many different areas of the country, where I think it used to be very central to one area. And it's exciting. Yeah. It's exciting to see. So I'm really into seeing, when you go to Dayton and you watch, like, there's a style from Texas and there's a style from Florida and, the West Coast. And
there is.
It's cool. I'm excited to see it and watch it. And I like seeing some styles develop in areas of the country that we've not really seen in the past 10 years.
Yeah, that's a good point. And talking about Texas, as big as the state is, I do feel like it's kind of a small amount of guards that are incredibly gifted, whereas in other parts of, like in Florida and Indiana and there just seem to be other parts of California, the country, where they're just so gifted with so many incredible guards, and I don't understand why Texas can't get there. We've got the Woodlands, and oh my goodness, those girls are astonishing. I'm like, why can't we get more of these guards to that level? Because and watching them is just, it has to be motivating. I'm thinking, every kid that's in the stands watching has to be just so motivated to say, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. And it's sad to me that we just have so few groups in Texas achieving that level. And then it just seems like other states are just leaps and bounds ahead, and it shouldn't be that way. But that leads me into my pick. Of course, the Woodlands was the only world class. I think maybe the only world currently. Flower Mound may be world class now. I can't remember now.
Flower Mound
is on the cusp. We've got some so close, but the Woodlands, I can't wait to see how they do against Tarpon Springs, because Tarpon's incredible. Avon is killing it this year. I mean, absolutely astonishing this year. Well, I just can't wait to see them at Dayton. Let's see how these groups from different parts of the country, the Tarpon, how's their style going to compare to Carmel and Avon? I always love it when it's one thing to watch them separated at different competitions, but you get them all together. Same with the independent guards. It's like, oh, they're going to win. And then you see them against the other guards, and you're like, oh my word, how do you pick a winner? I don't know.
But hard up there for the judges. They're making it real hard for the judges.
Is it all the GE, Woody? Is that what it is?
Once you get to that point, it's really what it's about. It's about who did I like better, because most people, when you talk to that last block of people, they all have the dialogue, they all have the performance. Now, who do I like? It usually comes to the preference of the judge. Like, some people may dig the flag features, some people may not. So guess what? I put a 10 between Avon and Tarpon Springs, because Avon did more weapons. I like that better. That's really what it comes down to at the end.
And the performance of the night, like when you go to WGI, your prelims and your finals, if you care about because sometimes when you're at finals, you're just like, well, finals, but unless you're going to medal. But prelims is probably your most important run, because that's going to set the part of the entire week. And at that point in the season, judges are are judging the performance, like what is produced, the performance art that they see tonight. It's not the potential. It's not where they are in the schedule. It's not the recovery efforts. Is they need to nail it at prelims and then hopefully at finals if they're going for a medal, or if you care, like, but most of us, when we get to finals, if you're 14th or 13th, you're like, meh, but medals, I guess, counts.
Well, speaking of preferences and likes, Jonathan, we didn't get a chance to get your third pick.
Oh, yeah. I really enjoyed in the world class Norwin High School out in Pennsylvania. They're doing the Lizzie Borden show.
Oh, yeah.
They've got like it's not happy, obviously, but it's got like a really cool dark energy, and there's some cool like allusions to that, that storyline and that lore there. It'll be really some ends to tie up there for sure as they work through the last couple of weeks. It'll be really cool to see where that story gets to. They're out there spinning axes and doing some cool stuff like that. Just like they're not afraid of that storyline, and they're bringing it to the audience, and it's pretty cool. Another fun one I saw. I judged First Flight out in North Carolina last week, and they're doing a Sleepy Hollow show, and they have this really cool flag statement where the performers have flags in one hand and severed heads in the other.
Oh, wow. Talk about dark. We really went dark there.
I want to spin a severed head.
Yeah. And they've got like these mannequin heads, like they're holding them by their hair, and then they're whipping the flags around and tossing them under and passing them hand to hand. So it's all kinds of like really hard stuff. But you're just like staring at these like mannequin heads in their hand and probably missing half the flag work because of it. But no, they were really cool.
Wow.
I would love to clean some flag and severed head work.
I
feel like that needs to go on my resume now.
Well, I know we've already discussed some great shows, but I'd love to finish up the podcast today with maybe some of your honorable mentions or just some thoughts you all might have from the competitions you watched the last few weeks. Jonathan, you want to start us off with maybe some of those?
Sure. I think it's interesting watching, like, as you judge all these different classes or watch these different classes, seeing how much overlap there is between the top of one and the bottom of the next. Like, sometimes, like, even as a judge, I sit there and I'm like, why are you in this class and this group is in this class? Because there's so much talent in these younger classes and so much, it's obviously when you like cross captions, you can see on a recap maybe where the answer comes in, but it's just crazy the way these groups are progressing and these classes are progressing. I mean, like, even in Regional A, I remember when I first started teaching, like, thousands of years ago in, like, 2005, like, Regional A guards were, like, they were out there doing, like, the fight song or something, basically.
Yeah.
And now, like, these Regional A color guards, they're out there, like, ensemble tosses, angle tosses, multi-plane stuff, spinning on the move. And it's like, I mean, when I was in high school, that was, like, A-class final.
Yeah.
And now your Regional A guards are doing that, like, in the middle of the Regional A paradigm. It's just, like, I don't know what we're going to be doing in 2050. These world-class kids are going to have to grow, like, a third arm or something to make all this stuff happen.
And spinning it, yeah.
With their severed head.
Yeah,
that's right.
You have to grow that severed head.
And a tail.
I think to touch on what you were just saying, I talked about this a lot last year with, friends of mine, but I think we're seeing a significant shift in the activity right now where the ability level, the skill level is growing so fast that WGI can no longer keep up with policies that stick to what those levels. So I think there's a big push right now to redefine what is beginner. SRA is supposed to be that beginner class right now. That used to be A class. And when we introduced Regional A, we never redefined A. So now people are very confused. What is A class? And then what is open class? We know what world class is. Okay, we got it.
Yeah.
But the other classes are so undefined. And last year we saw more people promote into open class or get reclassified into open class than we have ever seen before. And now suddenly open class is a pretty large class.
Yeah.
And sometimes mid-season or towards the end of the season, those poor kids are like thrown into the lion's den.
There's this significant effort, I think, to really define the classes and define what skill sets belong in what classes. And it's scary for me personally, because I'm like, I don't want us to get into like the figure skating world where we define like you have to do this skill and this skill and I don't want our activities to get that sterile. But like my local circuit cut out novice class this year. We have Regional A, Open. We're that's it. And then we have a middle school class. but I think we're trying to align with what WGI is doing. And it's what you said, Ricardo, at the beginning of the podcast. Like when you were, I don't know when you marched, but when I was marching, a single turn flag ensemble release turn catch was an open class skill.
That was an open class skill.
And now I am seeing regional A guards do that. And I watched an A class guard do a full ensemble, 45 toss with a double turn underneath it.
Huh.
That's an A class skill. I'm sorry. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
It is not. But
Alicia,
we need to define that.
Yeah.
Alicia, I'm from the era of a 45 toss was a new and cool thing. So that's how old I am. Yeah. I remember being taught to do a 45 toss and I was like, what is this? This is shenanigans. Why? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ricardo, do you have any honorable mentions up your sleeve or some final thoughts?
Lord, I want to praise everybody. It's such a hard thing to do. And I think that people forget this a lot is that, for these designers and instructors, they are putting art on the floor and they're expecting, they have to get a number and be judged on art. And there's no real way to do that. And sometimes I feel that there are groups that get overlooked in the numbers game that are making some beautiful art in this world. So I'm a shout out to everybody that's out there creating, to myself included. I'm going to pat my own self on the back because, this isn't easy. And if you keep doing it for the love of what it is, and that is to create more of this beautiful art form that we all love, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever number happens, that's fine. Just keep creating, keep making that magic, keep going and doing. And for all the performers that are out there that are literally breaking their backs to do all these crazy tricks and things that they're doing, thank you for putting in your hard work and your effort. And thank you for trusting people like me who are instructors and others to bring these visions that we have, sometimes sitting on our back porch going, oh, that'll be a cool idea. And you are sticking yourself out there to do that. So I'm praising everybody. That's what I'm doing tonight. That's my honorable mention is everybody involved.
What about you,
Cynthia? The way that we
get
so distracted sometimes by the competitive piece, like with the fact that this is really just a performance art thing. Like I was probably the first one in line to roll my eyes when we rolled out that rating system post-COVID, but like there was something cool about that where you just you got the competitive recognition, but you took all the pressure off to get a 91.2 instead of a 90.1 or whatever. And like, you could just sort of make art there and do your thing. And there was so much different stuff that came out then, like people using different tech, different things to make it. And we weren't all bogged down whether I was going to beat you or you were going to beat me, and we could just perform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well said. Well, Miss Cynthia, do you have any honorable mentions or final thoughts?
I think bringing back the 90s is a great thing. And that's my thing. Like, I think probably about 10 years ago, I was talking to Carlo. I was like, I just want more tempo. I just want the 90s back. And we all know, like, I'm a geek of time, but we had Fan Network when we were able to see shows and shows from the back. And so we are, and yet again, I don't know who's we, but the 35s to 50 something, we were able to see product from all the way the first WGI, where the now designers are now younger designers, because we're still designing, don't have that. So I'm sure that there are a lot of fan favorite VHS that ran around, because you can see musics that were from the 90s and styles that are back from that time, and with a mix of what's happening now and ballads and all that. So the plethora of genre that we have, I think, is very, very interesting. And also, to bring it back to the 90s, clean drill. I saw a lot of clean drill.
Yes.
And we need to keep cleaning our drill, people. We need to keep cleaning our drill, because that's one thing that maybe in the past 5 years we didn't do it because we're organic, and I am too. But you can still clean your drill. If you have a straight line, make sure that your flag line is tight and together, because they're in a straight line and all of that. And you're going to see one of the groups that I'm teaching in a straight line, and I'm like, oh my God, is that going to happen? But good for you if you're exposing yourself, but keep cleaning, because I saw a lot cleaner drill this weekend than I've seen in the past couple of years. So yeah, woo!
All right. Well, Miss Leah, tell us who you are most excited to see live when you get to Dayton.
Honestly, I think it's Avon High School.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
I saw a snippet of their show and I cried a little because I'm obsessed with that song right now. I want my kids to do it. I want
love it
everything.
too.
I need to see it over and over and over again. Like, it's something that put a smile on my face, and I'm so excited to see it. I'm really hoping that we even get to see it because I don't know. I feel like the timing is always so difficult to like force yourself in there when you're with all of your other teammates. But that's who I'm super excited to see in Dayton. And also, I agree with what she said. I really wish we had a lot more clean line than organic. This is just a clump. It would make us feel a little better. But you know,
Let's have it all.
Please have a mix of both. A nice little mix of both. And I don't know. I think, who else do I really want to see live in Dayton? I really want to see, this is going to sound kind of weird because they're our team, but if you've seen USF's A show, I think I like their show a little bit more than I like my own show.
Oh.
It's a very like nice, cute, jazzy little number. And I guess we're both doing a jazz show, but I don't know, the way that their flag feature eats at the end,
it does eat. It just definitely eats.
Like our flag feature, I believe, is about 16 counts, maybe 24, and their flag feature is a solid minute. Like I love it. It's so beautiful.
Love that.
I guess beautiful is not the right word because it has a little bit of edge to it, but it's just so spunky. So I really want to see them perform. They didn't get to go last year, so I'm super excited that they're even coming this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I want to see, last thing, I'm sorry, but I want to see T.I. again because T.I. last year was amazing. And
is that Tampa? Is that who you mean?
Yeah, Tampa Independent.
Okay. Just clarifying.
Yeah. I really, really want to see them this year in finals because they did such an amazing job last year. So, yeah.
Great. Well, Woody, I know you're a percussion person, but do you have any final thoughts for us for Winter Guard?
Believe it or not, I am also a Winter Guard junkie also. As I said before, it's because of Winter Guard. I used to teach a Winter Guard, and that's how I incorporated it into the whole percussion thing. So I love Winter Guard. And just to hear Cynthia talk about going backwards, I'm like, thank goodness, because you kind of lost me with the ballad, the ballad era, you know. And I'm an '80s guy, in the '90s. I need to see stuff up in the air. I need to see people spinning and having a good time. Enough with the "you love me to the end of the earth." I know it sounds kind of macho or whatever, but no. And I really believe what she's saying is it's not just color guard. It's happening all over the entire activity.
Okay.
Because we backed ourselves into a hole where we're so intellectually entertaining that you've become boring to the person who's most important, the person who's paying. Now, I agree with you. Like you said, Ricardo, you know, you're putting it out there as a designer. You put your heart on the line. I get that, but I think there needs to be a balance, and I'm very happy to see that balance coming back to the activity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's getting expensive. You mentioned paying, and I forked out some money in Austin over the weekend. I was like, man, these post-COVID prices are killing me.
Leave, you want to feel like you got your money's worth, right?
Yes.
You don't feel like, I don't know if I'm going to go next year.
Yeah.
My butt hurt from sitting in the stands.
Right? Well, speaking of honorable mentions and percussion and Woody, we have another recap that you guys need to be sure you're listening to. Every other week, Stephen and Woody do a percussion recap. So, listeners, if you aren't really paying attention to the percussion world, you need to listen to these recaps and watch some of that. And wins as well. We don't really talk about wins enough, but the whole WGI scene is just amazing. And these kids are amazing. And if we didn't talk about your group today, that does not mean that your group is not amazing. And I want you to know that. We know how hard all of you work. And I know I can speak for everyone here on this panel when I say that we understand that you are really giving a lot of your life to this activity, a lot of your time. And we appreciate and admire every single one of you. Well, that winds up this week's recap. Thanks, everyone, for another great run. And thank you in particular to our hosts, Ricardo, Jonathan, Alicia, Leah, Woody, and Cynthia. Now, y'all know what to do. Go subscribe, write us a review, share this podcast with a friend, and follow us on social media at On a Water Break. And we will see you at the next performance on a water break from the stands.
Now go